Hi friends, welcome to this video tutorial for the Jeremiah crochet baby blanket pattern. For this pattern you are going to need a weight 5 bulky yarn. This I'm using Hue and Me from Lion Brand today, but you can use whatever weight 5 yarn you would like. And then I am using a 6.5 millimeter crochet hook. Let's get started. So this pattern utilizes the falling leaves stitch. I have another tutorial on my channel for the tricolor falling leaves baby blanket, which I will link in the description. Also, if you like having a written pattern handy, you can get all of the details for the Jeremiah baby blanket at my website, dananeal.com, and the link directly to the pattern is in the description. So this falling leaf stitch, it's a beautiful textural stitch with, it's just gorgeous. It's got beautiful stitch definition with this yarn as well, and I just love how it looks. I absolutely love how it looks. So to do the pattern for this tutorial today, you can chain any multiple of 4 plus 2. So I am going to chain 10. 4 plus 4 plus 2 is 10. So let's see what I got so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Row 1, you're going to single crochet in the second chain from the hook and in each stitch across. So I like to work into the back bumps of the chain. A couple of reasons why. You get this beautiful clean edge, which I'll show you once I start crocheting into those back bumps. It makes it a lot easier as well to work your first round of your border later. So to work into the back bumps, simply turn this chain towards you and you can see these bumps behind your V's are what we're going to work into. So actually you can see this is the first bump back here right next to the hook. We're working into the second bump and across. So go ahead and insert your hook, pull up your loop, yarn over, and pull through both to complete the single crochet. Now I am assuming that you probably already know how to single crochet if you are tackling this blanket. It'll be useful to know how to single crochet, how to double crochet, and perhaps have some familiarity with post stitches for the falling leaves stitch for the body of the blanket pattern. For the border, it will be useful to know how to half double crochet, and maybe if you have familiarity with the back third loop, but I'll show you how to do that, so don't worry too much if going into this pattern all you know is single crochet, double crochet, and half double. I think you can follow the tutorial just fine. Alright, so we have worked into each stitch across. You can see now, look at that beautiful clean edge. It almost looks like the top of your stitches. It looks like kind of the top of a regular crochet stitch. So again, makes it very easy when we come around later to work that border. You should end up with 9 single crochets because we worked into the second chain and across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Fabulous. Go ahead, chain 1 and turn. Row 2, you are going to single crochet across. These are our setup rows for the pattern, so we can get into it in the next row and beyond and start working those beautiful textural leaf stitches. Oops, I split the stitch there. All right. Chain 1 and turn. Now row 3 is our first row where we are working those leaf stitches. You're going to begin by working a double crochet in the first 3 stitches. So you'll go ahead and yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So a very quick refresher on double crochet if anybody is on the newer side of crocheting. Alright, now we're going to work our first leaf stitch. So you are going to work a leaf stitch around the post of the stitch 2 rows below. So from row 1. So maybe it's a little tricky to isolate. If you kind of stretch out your stitches a bit, you can see, okay, here is that stitch that we're looking for. To work a post stitch, you're going to insert your hook around that stitch instead of into the top of the stitch for a front post stitch, bringing that stitch towards you. The leaf stitch begins with a yarn over. So go ahead and yarn over your hook. Insert your hook around that post, bringing it towards you. Yarn over and pull up a loop. So you should have 3 loops on your hook. Next, we're going to yarn over again, insert our hook back around that post, so exactly where we were the first time. Pull up a loop, and now you have 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through the first 4. Yarn over and pull through the last 2. And you can see we've got a nice chunky textural leaf-like stitch popping out the front of our work. You are always going to skip the stitch behind where we work any of our leaves, so we're not working into the top of this stitch right here. Otherwise we will increase, and we want a nice rectangular blanket, not a trapezoid. You are going to, oh my goodness, pardon me, you are going to double crochet in the next 3 stitches. I was single crocheting. So double crochet in the next 3. And then once again we'll make our leaf stitch. So now isolating this guy, and that single crochet 2 rows below, we're going to yarn over, insert our hook so that this stitch, the post of the stitch, is brought towards us, yarn over and pull up a loop. You should have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over again, insert back where we were before around that post again. You have 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through the first 4. Yarn over, pull through the last 2. You can see I turned my work almost vertically, or the opposite. No, this is horizontal. Okay, I turn it vertically. While I'm working that stitch, I think that keeps the loops on your hook a little tighter to the actual size of your hook without extending them, and it produces a neater looking stitch. That's just a personal preference. If you find it's a lot easier to just keep your work horizontal and you end up pulling those loops a little looser and you think it looks good, go for it. That is fantastic. It's just a personal preference of mine to try to keep the stitch like consistent with the size of the hook that you're using, and again, like a very neat looking leaf stitch. All right, we have reached the end of our row. We just have 1 stitch left, and you're just going to double crochet in that last stitch to finish. All right, and there's row 3. Chain 1 and turn. Row 4, You're going to single crochet across. Easy peasy. So this pattern is a 4-row repeat, which might sound a little intimidating, especially if you are a newer crocheter, or you're just looking for a simple pattern to do that's easy to memorize. But 2 of those 4 rows are on the wrong side. You just single crochet across, so very easy to remember. And the right side rows are very similar to each other. They're just offset slightly so that your leaves are offset so that they stagger nicely. All right, row 5, you are going to double crochet just in the first stitch. Now we're going to work our leaf in the double crochet stitch 2 rows below. The double crochets are a bit easier to isolate because they're a taller stitch. So you can, in my opinion, more easily see, all right, it's this guy right here you're working into. The middle double crochet of this set of 3 before you get to this leaf stitch from row 3. So yarn over, insert your hook around the post of that double crochet, pull up a loop. Here you can see I'm turning my work a little more vertically again. Yarn over, insert your hook, pull up another loop. Now we've got those 5 loops on our hook. Yarn over, pull through the first 4. Yarn over, pull through the last 2. And there is our next lovely leaf. Go ahead and double crochet in the next 3 stitches, making sure you skip the stitch behind the leaf that we just worked. And now we're going to make another leaf stitch looking for that middle double crochet. We've got our 3 double crochets that are sitting between these 2 leaf stitches. We will be working into the middle double crochet for our next leaf. Yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert your hook, pull up another loop, 5 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through the first 4, yarn over and pull through the last 2. And now we've got the last 3 stitches of our row that we are just simply going to double crochet into. All right, and let's take a look. You can see here the lovely leaves over here, and the leaves here are offset. We get that beautiful effect. This is the repeat. For the rest of the pattern, you repeat rows 2 through 5. So row 2, single crochet across. Row 3 is our set of leaf stitches that begins with 3 double crochets. Do a leaf, 3 double crochets across until you get to the last 2 stitches of the row. Do a leaf, do a double crochet. Row 4, single crochet across. Then row 5, do 1 double crochet, leaf, 3 double crochets, leaf, 3 double crochets across. So you are always beginning or ending your leaf rows with 3 double crochets to start, 1 to end, or 1 double crochet to start, 3 to end. And that is just to offset them. All right, so let's do another row or 2. This pattern includes instructions that say we're going to do middle of the row color changes. Why? Why not have clean color changes at the end of rows? I like using up my entire ball of yarn when I'm working one of these patterns, and that way I don't end up with a bunch of scraps. I don't have to worry about, oh, I had enough yarn in that one ball to get 12 rows, but then this other ball just had slightly less yarn in it, and now I'm only getting 11 rows. Well, I wanted 12 rows in each section. Whatever. You don't have to worry about that. You end up with a slightly larger blanket because you're using all of the yarn for every color except for your very last chunk of color. You'll end cleanly at the end of a row. And I think this stitch more or less blends middle of the row color changes pretty well. And you can look at photos of the blanket on my website and see what you think. Maybe you're like, no it doesn't, I would rather end cleanly at the end of rows. And that's totally fair. And so let's say, oh, I'm gonna work this leaf stitch and now I'm running out of yarn. The best way, actually, let me leave those last 2 loops on the hook. The best way, in my opinion, well, and the opinion of many crocheters, to change colors if you're doing a middle of the row color change. So this is especially common in like crochet color work. So you have a clean finish, is to change color when you are about to complete your stitch. So here I'm going to bring in this cream color. Oh, I've almost completed my leaf stitch. I have the final yarn over to do. Well, I'm going to do that with my new color. So just loop your yarn over the hook, leaving a long enough tail to weave in, so at least 6 inches, and pull that yarn through as though that's the yarn you've been using this whole time. Now it looks a little funky because this tail is on the front of the project, but if you snug everything up and then just continue with your working yarn, your new color that's attached, you can move right along. Now maybe you don't want your leaf stitch to be the one that gets the new color. That's fair, because now we've got this on the front of the project, this tail, we've got to snug it up. It does look a little funky. Let's try joining the color in a different spot. You can obviously, well, maybe it's not obvious, you can do this on the wrong side of the work as well. Say you run out of yarn in the middle of your single crochet row. You can easily join your yarn there too. Same rules apply. Once you get to the point of the stitch where you're just about to do your last yarn over, you just have 2 loops on the hook. Go ahead and loop your new color over, leaving a long enough tail to weave in. Excuse me. And pull the yarn through as though that is the color you have had this whole time. And then you can just pull on the color you've left behind to tighten things up. And continue crocheting along with your new color. Alright, I'm going to do 1 or 2 more rows off camera just so we have a nice little swatch to go with where you can see more of that color change, and I will meet you soon. Alright, so here is a completed swatch that we can now put a border on. So you can see here we've got an extra cream colored leaf dropping down here, again like offset in the middle of the row. It's a little more obvious on such a small swatch. On the blanket, those middle of the row color changes aren't as obvious, but if that bothers you, totally fine, and I understand, and you are welcome to do your color changes at the end of the rows. You can do them in the same way. So once you get to this last stitch of the row, say there are still 2 loops left on my hook, yarn over with your new color and continue along. So pretty simple to do. So let's go ahead and put a border on this guy. This is going to feature the camel stitch border, which is one of my favorite borders ever. I absolutely love it. I used the same border on the tricolor falling leaves stitch pattern. Again, that's going to be linked in the description. And just to finish off, you can just yarn over and pull that loop through to have a little knot at the edge there. I am going to weave in my ends later. Instead, we're just going to hit the ground running with a pink border. Why not? So, to work our border, it is worked in continuous rounds. I always like pulling up a loop of yarn in the upper right hand corner, and I keep my seam in the corner. I find this easiest when working a border, because if I don't have my seam in the corner, if I pull up a random stitch anywhere on my blanket, I tend to increase and it looks funky, and even though your border, your corner where you're joining each round looks a pinch different than the other corners, to me, I would much rather keep my seam in the corner so that I don't risk any funkiness in the middle of any of the sides. So go ahead, pull up a loop of yarn in your border color by inserting your hook under that top right stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop in the border color, chain 1 to attach, and work a single crochet. The foundation round of, I think, any border I've ever done is just a round of single crochet. Now, single crochet across, part of why I like to start in that upper right hand corner. This is for right-handed crocheters. I think if you're left-handed, you'd start in the upper left corner. Is that it's really easy to work into those top stitches as you go across. Working into the sides is a bit fiddly, so it's nice to just have an easy start. Now, when you reach this corner, so the last stitch of the row, you're going to do that single crochet, then chain 2, and single crochet again in that same spot. Now, on my blanket patterns, I always include suggested stitch counts along the sides for a border that lies flat. This looks slightly bigger than a square, like a little more than a square, maybe. That's a rectangle, right? If it's bigger than a square on one side. So I'm going to aim for, say, 10 or 11 stitches along the sides. And when you're working into your sides, try working into the stitches, grabbing a loop or two of yarn instead of working all the way around a stitch. Why? Because then you're going to get a bigger gap, whereas these, it creates no gap because you worked into the stitch itself. It also just looks a little cleaner, in my opinion. All right, how many stitches is that already? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, let's do 10. Okay, here we go. And then again, in that corner, you'll do that single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet in the same spot. Now, when you're working along the bottom, because of working into the back bumps, we've got this really nice looking tops of the stitches to work into. It looks like you're working into just a normal row, which is nice. It makes the top and bottom of the border a lot more enjoyable to work into. And you'll just do that across. And I'm going to meet you back at the beginning to show you how to get that to work that final corner. All right, so I'm back at my starting corner. I worked my final single crochet into the same corner as my first single crochet of the round. Now you will simply chain 2 and slip stitch, join. For our next round, chain 1. Now we're going to begin half double crocheting. Yarn over, and we are going to half double crochet backwards into this chain 2 loop. this, I think, is the most confusing part of working this border, but once again, in my opinion, well worth it, because you end up keeping your seam in the corner. So we've yarned over, insert your hook backwards into that chain 2, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops to complete that first half double crochet. Now I am going to place a stitch marker in the back 3rd loop of that half double crochet I just created, which will be, I will explain more later. So the back 3rd loop, if I take the hook out, here's the top, turn that stitch towards you, this is your back 3rd loop, and that is where we will be working into going forward. So in your next stitch, once again, turn your work towards you. In single crochet, the back 3rd loop is very tight. So here's our top of the stitch, turning it towards you. This little stitch here is your back 3rd loop. So it almost looks like it's half as wide as the top of your stitch. So it's a little fiddly to work into, but in my opinion, well worth it because of the beautiful effect it achieves. So go ahead and yarn over, insert your hook into that loop. You might need to use your fingernails or your hook. Pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. And continue that across until you get to your corner. You can see already we are getting this gorgeous ridge from working in the back 3rd loops in this round. And in the future rounds, it's a lot easier to work into the back 3rd loop in half double crochet. In single crochet, it's very tight and fiddly. All right, I will meet you at the corner. Here is that gorgeous ridge again, making this fiddly row worth it, I think. Now in your corner, once again, you're gonna just half double crochet, and I am gonna mark the back 3rd loops of both half double crochets in the corner so that they are super easy to identify later. And I will know, without a doubt, where my rows each end. Chain 2, half double crochet again into that same chain 2 corner. So when you mark the back 3rd loops of both half double crochets in each corner, you should end up with 8 stitch markers. Now you might not find this necessary. Maybe you don't think stitch markers would be super necessary at all on this border, because the chain 2 corners themselves are pretty easy to identify. But I've had issues in the past increasing in the corners because I thought something was another back 3rd loop that wasn't. And then I ended up with these puffy corners, and I didn't really realize how I got there, but I wasn't gonna pull out the whole border at that point. So now I just have become a stitch marker aficionado when it comes to the camel stitch border. All right, I am gonna work my way around this round. I will meet you at the start. All right, now I've worked that last half double crochet into the chain 2 corner. Look at these pretty ridges all the way around. I'm gonna chain 2 and slip stitch join to the top of this stitch. So even though we marked the back 3rd loop, our slip stitch join is just going to be into the top of our stitches like normal. Chain 1. And now we're on round 3 which is a repeat of round 2, but much easier. So go ahead and work your half double crochet backwards again into this chain 2, like so. All right, now because we marked the back third loop of the first half double crochet from the previous round, it's really easy to see where I am beginning this next round, which is in this stitch. So go ahead, yarn over, insert your hook into the back third loop of that half double crochet and complete your half double crochet. And actually I'm going to take this stitch marker out now and mark the back third loop of this first stitch of the round, which is right here. So I can find it easily later. And continue working half double crochets in the back third loop of each stitch across. And look at how much easier this is than the last round. But again, in my opinion, that's worth it because you have that nice ridge framing out your border from the start. And now as we approach this corner, you can see those stitch markers. So now I know exactly where my last back third loop of this first side of the round is. So I'll work into that. Ooh. I'll pull out that stitch marker now. Just for fun. This is where I would often accidentally work an additional stitch because I think the back of this chain here kind of looks like another back third loop. That is why I mark those stitches in the corners. So go ahead in your corner, as we've been doing, work your half double crochet, mark that back third loop, chain 2, work another half double crochet into that chain 2 corner again. Again, now I know exactly where I'm placing the next stitch because it's marked. Work into that, the back third loop of that first stitch on this side and all the way around. And once again, I'm moving this marker up now to the back third loop of the half double crochet that was in the corner. So 2 stitches back. Go ahead and continue around like this, and I'll meet you at the start. We'll take a look at how everything is and see you then. Alright, here we are back at the beginning. I have worked that last half double crochet into the chain 2 corner, chain 2, and once again you're going to slip stitch join into the top of that stitch, not into the back third loop. And that is the end of round 3. It's so pretty. I just love this border. I can't get enough. I think it's a really nice neutral border if you are giving a baby blanket and you don't know the gender, or you know, for either one, for a baby boy or baby girl. I think it's just a beautiful, nice textural border. So you will just repeat these rounds. That was a repeat of round 2. Doing round 3, you just keep repeating around until the border is as wide as you like it, and then you can join with a slip stitch and fasten off. That's just the classic way, or you can do an invisible join so that your corners, it would look like this corner where it's really seamless. I go into detail about that in my tricolor falling leaves stitch tutorial. And I'll also link, Bella Coco has a really good video tutorial on the invisible join that I will link as well. otherwise, that is it for this video tutorial. I hope you found it helpful. I hope you like this lovely stitch. I think it is so pretty. And again, you can get all the details for the written pattern on my blog. If you liked this video, go ahead and give it a like so other people see it. And if you would like more memorizable baby blanket patterns, you can subscribe to my channel and get updated whenever I post more video tutorials. All right, everybody, have a wonderful day, and thanks so much for watching.